Today, I'm going to cover one of the hottest topics in Australia, and that is the Perth property market. For those of you who are out there struggling at the moment, whether you be trying to buy, sell, lease, invest, whether you be in WA or you're coming in from outside of WA, hopefully I'm going to touch on some of the pain points and give you some helpful information to help you guys with your property journey. We will talk numbers and all the boring stuff a little bit later on, but for now I wanted to show you what's happening on the ground and out there in real time. If this is your first time consuming any of my content, my name is Jeremy Shirazi and I've been in the Perth property game in WA for over a decade now. I'm meeting hundreds of people per month, and that's not an exaggeration. We're dealing with so many people in WA at the moment that are trying to buy or transact in property that working with so many people, we get to see a bit of a data set and we get to see, just experience what people are struggling with and obviously help them through their journey as well. So I'm hoping to share some of that with you today and to get some people past a lot of the challenges that they're dealing with and hopefully offer some solutions and tips as well. First, I want to touch on a couple of things. Buyers, you need to understand that buying in Perth right now is like a competitive sport and most of you aren't in the game. B, sellers, you need to realize that any monkey with a registration can sell your property in WA right now. You need someone that is good at what they do. C, agents. There's a lot of good agents in WA, but there's a lot of people just being assholes to buyers and tenants. You need to stop. And C, investors. I know you're under a lot of pressure with interest rates and rising costs, but you also need to be kind to the tenants that were kind to you when the market was low. Because if you're not, when the market flips back, guess what's coming? So buyers need to realize right now there is blood in the water. And a lot of them are getting chewed up and spat out at the end of 3, 6, 12 months trying to buy property in Perth right now. So again, back to my analogy of buying property is like a highly competitive sport in our city right now. I don't know of a better way to phrase it. A lot of buyers are coming in, they're not prepared, they're not ready to go, and they're just suffering disappointment after disappointment. And the problem is they're just not playing at the level that you need to be playing at if you're trying to buy property in our city. So there seems to be a bit of a mindset problem at the moment, and that's between the east and the west, really. What we're seeing out there at the moment is some local buyers, or a lot of local buyers, are getting frustrated because buyers are getting snapped up from East Coast, or East Coast investors more specifically. So I want to highlight something, and hopefully this will help the mindset for a lot of buyers out there at the moment. And that is, like me, if you're a local WA, born and bred, you'll know that we had a lot of years of a very average market and we've seen some rapid growth. Now, the problem is our mindset is that we've seen the market get to here, but we're used to it being here. So this feels elevated at the moment. So a lot of us are going, look, I see the value here, but I just don't see it being here and I'm not willing to go there. In comparison to a lot of the East Coast investors, which are seeing this number and they're going, we see opportunity, we see growth. So East Coast investors are playing in this field and willing to go the extra mile to secure a property, whereas WA buyers are still playing in this field. So if you are competing against East Coast investors or East Coast buyers, they're coming in with a completely different mindset because they believe there's growth to be had here and there's a lot of drivers pushing our market up. So you need to start adjusting and forget yesterday's price, even start looking at where we are now, could be the new norm. The other three, or I guess a couple of points I want to touch on when making offers, and this is something that a lot of buyers are asking me questions, and how do we do it? How do we give ourselves a better advantage when we're in competition? Because no doubt you will be in competition. And I like to break it down into 3 different things. 1, price. Everyone knows what price is. You know that that's one of the key factor when you're making an offer on property that's going to help you win or secure the property. But 2, which a lot of people don't take into account, is risk. Now, risk might be something where perhaps you're borrowing 95% and another buyer is borrowing 50%, or perhaps they're cash. Now, obviously, the 50% or cash offer offers a lot less risk to the seller. And for a lot of sellers, they're trying to on purchase, so they need as little risk as possible with the offer that they take. So we've got price, we've got risk. The other thing is time. Time is really important at the moment. Some sellers need to get to A to B as quickly as possible. So a quick settlement is definitely a good thing. But for a lot of sellers out there at the moment, we're noticing that they're stuck because they want to sell, but they have nowhere to go. And their fear is being homeless, and they need time to go shopping. One thing that not many people are doing is offering sellers time for them to take the anxiety out of it for them, to allow them to go shopping. So we'll touch on that again in a second. But ultimately, price, risk, and time. If you can nail it on those three fronts with your offer, then you're going to be leagues above a lot of people. The other thing is, I guess, back to risk is your conditions. Just keeping it as simple as possible. An unconditional offer is always more powerful than an offer that's riddled with conditions. So, and you might say, Jeremy, what are conditions? Well, the normal conditions that most people will find is building and termite inspection, a warranty with electrical, gas, and plumbing to make sure all those things are working, and obviously a finance condition. Now, if you're willing to sacrifice any of those things and obviously do it truthfully and make sure you're looking after your own best interests at the same time, then you're going to put yourself above the rest of the market. But if you start adding extra conditions on top of that, which are just outside of the normal, you're really going to shoot yourself in the foot, and I would highly advise against doing that if you can. Some of the frustration that we've been seeing out there with buyers is the buying experience. And this comes down to a lot of agents as well. But again, I think there needs to be a mindset shift, and that is because buying real estate is not like walking into a store and buying this microphone, as an example. You don't walk in, the price is this, you give them the money, you get the microphone. In fact, it's more like you walk in to go buy the one microphone that's left on the shelf, and there's 10 to 60 other people there trying to buy the same microphone. Now, a lot of the times it's organized chaos. So the different methods of sales, so whether we're talking about auction, obviously that's the most transparent because you can see what everyone else is bidding in real time, and hopefully you come out on top to secure the microphone or property. But the problem is that you need to be cashed up or have your finances extremely well organized, and it's a highly competitive, fast-paced environment. And a lot of buyers, especially in WA, aren't used to that kind of buying environment, whereas East Coast are. So again, if you're buying in WA and you're noticing there's auctions happening in the area you're trying to secure, start familiarizing yourself with auctions, attend auctions, get to know how it works. Looking at other methods, if there's 10 people trying to buy this microphone, there's also, whether it be, no price strategies where they've not given you a price, but perhaps a guide, and you know roughly what the microphone is going to cost, and you're putting offers in to try and secure it. Now, if you're lucky enough to be working with an agent that's using a ranking platform that allows you to see if you're first, second, third, or fourth, then maybe you have an idea of where that's going to go and you can make your offer accordingly. It is still a competitive environment and it will drive competition, but at least you have an idea of where you're going. Now, the most common method that we're seeing out there at the moment is good old private treaty. And a lot of WA agents still use this, and it's because it's a proven method over here. It works really well, different to the East Coast, but you're going in almost completely blind. And if the agent's not giving you good guidance through that, then you are literally flying blind. It might even just be from, as an example, from $550,000. You don't know if it's going to sell for $550, $600, $650, maybe even a touch more. You just know you've got to put your best offer in and go in blind. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of buyers that are struggling to buy something because they've just got no idea where to go and they're just getting beaten every time and they're not getting told what it's going for either. So they're just, they're just shooting in the dark, basically. So I'm going to give you some language to use around that when you're talking with agents. Because two things that we hear the most, which is so painful to deal with as an agent, is what's the best price? Guys, the best price could have been $550. The seller might be willing to accept $550, but if we've got 10 offers, it's probably going from $600 to $650. So it doesn't matter what the owner's best price is. It matters what the competition's doing. The other thing we hear is, well, what's the top offer? Because as if we're going to tell you what the top offer is, you need to be aware that if we somehow engage in that scenario and all the buyers give us permission, well, we're suddenly in an auction environment because I'm going to tell you what their top offer is. You up your offer, I'm going to tell them what your top offer is, and we're just going to go backwards and forwards, and everyone gets frustrated, everyone loses. So please stop asking those two questions. What's the best price? What's the top offer? We cannot tell you. It doesn't even really matter. What does matter though, and also what is a better piece of language to use if you are a buyer, is saying to an agent, hey, I know that you've got from 550 or you're giving a guide of mid fives on this one. I just want to know, are we still playing in that same space? Are we still playing in the mid fives? Or have we moved up to high fives? Or are we playing in the low sixes? You're not asking for what their top offer is, but you're asking for an indication of where the offers are at to help guide you when you're making your offer. For example, if they say, look, we're playing in the high fives at the moment, then you know if you come in at the 600, you're in a stronger position. So just a small shift of language, be a little bit more open and vague, but you'll get a better idea of where things are headed. Now you might say, Jeremy, what if the agent lies to me and tells me it's higher than what it is? Well, first, try and keep yourself tethered to reality and go, okay, if it's 500,000, I'm not going to pay $1 million. You know inherently, a rough guide on where it could sit, but be mindful of that. The other thing is, well, if it's a reputable agent, highly unlikely, because the agent tells you you're playing in the 600s and for some reason it doesn't sell there and it ends up selling back at 550, it's egg on their face because they've lied and they're basically just trying to kill their own career. Now, I'm not saying all agents are honest. Unfortunately, our industry needs a lot of work. But again, if you speak openly with people, most agents are humans just like you are. And if you have some honest, open conversation, and you're not trying to undercut or do anything silly, you're just going to have an open conversation with them. Be the buyer the agent and the seller want to work with. Don't be difficult. Be as open as possible. I know it's frustrating at the moment, but just do the best you can there. The other thing I want to touch on is pain points, and that is you're trying to buy a product from someone and they have challenges just like you do. If you can help give a solution for that challenge, you're going to put yourself leagues ahead of the other buyers that are out there. So what a lot of buyers don't think about is that a lot of the sellers that are selling their properties are buyers as well. They're facing the exact same challenge you are. They're trying to buy something and they're struggling. They're going through the exact same problems you're having. But their issue is that they want to sell, but they can't sell yet until they secure their next property. So what do? They don't sell, they get stuck because they just can't find anything. The fear of being homeless. If they sell their property, they've got a 2-month settlement, they don't find anything in that window and they've got nowhere to go in between, well, suddenly they're in a jacked up Airbnb for an indefinite amount of time and paying a stupid amount of money to have accommodation. So one thing that I've seen some buyers doing, because I've kind of worked through it with them, is saying, look, if we could secure this property for a premium, because you are going to pay a premium off market for the property. If you think you're going to get a bargain, this is just the wrong market. You're hunting in the wrong, it's just forget it basically. But if you're willing to pay a premium, because let's be honest, if it hits the open market, you're going to pay a premium, if not more. And you're willing to give the seller flexibility, so time. So your conditions are simple because you become unconditional as quickly as possible, and you give the seller time to go shopping. So if you give them a 3, 6, 9-month settlement to allow them to go out and then spend 3 to 6 months going to look for their next property without the pressure, they can go put an offer on another property and secure it. And then obviously you bring your settlement forward to coincide with the settlement of their property. Okay, so it just allows them flexibility and takes the anxiety out for the seller and gives you an advantage. Now you might say, well, Jeremy, that's great, but if they're not selling, how do I know where they are? Like, how do I know these people exist? Best thing you can do, speak to agents that are willing to have the conversations with you. If you said to an agent right now in the market, have you appraised any properties, or do you have any people thinking of selling that can't sell because they've got nowhere to go and they're scared of being homeless? I can guarantee almost every agent has a book of people that are going, yeah, we've got a lot of people in that scenario. Well, you say, if I could give you a premium for the property, a genuine premium, and I could offer them a 3 to 9 month settlement, here's all my financial details. They are sorted. I am ready to go. And this is what I'm looking for. Would you be happy to approach them? Any agent that's thinking logically or has actually given enough care to their client to understand this, like their sellers, to know their scenario, will go, actually, Jane and John down at 123 Jones Street, they're in that exact scenario and they've got the house that you've been looking for. it should sell for about 750. But if you can get me 750 to 780 or in that range and give them that settlement, I reckon they'd go for it. Fantastic. Let's line it up. My team and I did 2 deals last week and 1 deal the week before, just like that. So if you can, again, address the seller's pain point and give them a solution and help the agent, I mean, ultimately it's a win-win-win. Agent gets a quicker commission. Like, you know, they get to do a sale a lot quicker with a lot less hassle. They get to look after a seller, and the seller gets what they want, the flexibility and the time frame to go shopping, and you secure a property. That's a win-win-win for everyone. That is a scenario that I would suggest you look into. And if you have any questions on how to approach that, just message me or ask me in the comments below. Moving on to sellers. So sellers, it's obvious, it's a seller's market. Supply versus demand. There's not enough houses for the people that need them. Really simple. Now, what does that mean? It means it's fairly easy to sell a property at the moment. Any monkey with a registration right now can sell your property. But are they going to sell it well, and are they going to extract the most from the market? A lot of agents specifically are talking about fast sales, sold in 1 hour, sold in 3 days, sold in 5 days. That's great, and I'm sure they're getting a good result, but they're not taking the time and care to get a great result. Okay, so at the moment, you want to beware the agent that's coming in to give you an appraisal that's giving you the highest appraisal price and the lowest fee. They're basically just trying to steal your listing from the competition and then deal with the ramifications afterwards once you're signed up and it's too late. They're going to beat you, like if they price you too high and the market doesn't perform, they're going to beat you down with a stick to try and get you to the market because they didn't help you invest the right amount of money into the marketing to drive competition to get there. So look for agents that are offering a smart sale, not a fast sale, and look for agents that are going to give you, like, you know, they're going to stick to their fee because if they can't negotiate their fee, well, they're not going to negotiate your property, let's be honest, and make sure they're giving you a marketing package that is crafted specifically to your property to get you the best result. They're not just offering you the cheapest marketing package to try and get your business. When I'm quoting for a lot of my sellers, I say, guys, I might be a little bit more expensive, but I'm giving you exactly what I would be doing if I was to sell my own house. I'm not trying to give you a quote to win your business. I'm happy to talk shop and we can talk prices afterwards to get to a level that you're comfortable with, but understand this is how I'm going to quote you. So guys, just beware the agents that are pricing high with low fees, because you need to realize there's more agents in WA right now than there is houses for sale. I'll say that again. There's more agents in WA than there is houses for sale, which means some agents are starving and they're getting desperate. And if they're not the kind of agent that's doing the work or has the client base or the reputation, they're having to compete in different ways. So just be mindful of that. Strategy versus shortcuts. Are agents actually, or is your agent helping you craft a strategy to your to your situation? Do they care that you've got nowhere to go, or are they just trying to win your listing? They just want to list, get on the market, we'll get you sold. But are they listening to what you need? Do you need an extended settlement? Do you need a quick settlement? How do you want to approach the market? All those different things. Make sure you're going with an agent that's going to provide strategy and solutions, and through proven methods and case studies, not just shortcuts to try and get your business. One of the other things is, again, same thing we've touched on with the pain point, is that a lot of sellers don't want to sell because they've got nowhere to buy, but they want the best price. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is nothing to buy, it is the time to sell. You're near at this market that we're in, you're near the top of this current market. So work with an agent that's going to work with you to get a strategy that allows you to sell in this market and still buy without the stress. So think ahead, think strategy, work with the right agent. And obviously, like we discussed before about a buyer coming in and offering you a long-term settlement, if you're working with an agent, they should have a lot of buyers on their books right now that they're working with that can fit to your scenario. Which actually brings me to my next point, and that is agents. How do I say this gently? Agents just need to, a lot of agents just need to stop being assholes. Jeez, that didn't come out well at all, did it? There's a bit of a God complex out there at the moment because a lot of agents have been doing better than they should have in this current environment. They are turning over sales with minimal effort, and a lot of them, it just shows like they just don't care about buyers. It's treating them like second-rate citizens. And the feedback that I'm often getting from people is we've had a really, really rough time looking for property, and a lot of agents have been horrible to deal with. And I'm going to pat myself and my team on the back here a little bit and say that one of the best compliments that we get weekly at the moment is like, thank you so much for actually spending a little bit of time with me and talking with me and answering my questions and trying to help me with the journey. And now I have literally hundreds of buyers that we're working with and in our database that are saying, Jeremy, can you find us something? So any agent worth their salt is still looking after people. They're trying to create an experience for the buyers and the sellers that is pleasant, because they're thinking ahead about in 6-7 years time, all of these buyers are going to remember if I treated them like dirt or if I looked after them. And that's going to feed their future business and pipeline. A lot of agents, unfortunately, don't think that far ahead. And if you're one of those agents and you've just been grinding through and, I don't know, not looking after people at all, maybe it's time to have a look in the mirror and just kind of adjust your strategy just a little bit, or treat people how they want to be treated rather than you just focusing on sale and the next one. I guess, yeah, the point I was going to make on that is look after people now, build clients for life. If you're an agent and you're struggling, stop thinking about the now, start thinking about the future. One of my biggest, things with this industry, one of the biggest things with this industry is that our reputation is just constantly declining as real estate agents. Like, we are down the bottom of the pile, like right there with politicians, and I think we're under car salesmen now. So we have the power in this market when people are struggling to assist them, slow down, look after them, treat them well, give them actual service, because we are a service-based industry. If anyone thinks that we sell property, no, we don't. We work with people. That's what we do. The product is the property is the byproduct of the transaction. So guys, we are in a people business. Let's start looking after people together and create, just build our reputation up a little bit, because right now it is nosediving from the feedback myself and my team are getting from buyers out there in the market. Next point, which is not really my area of expertise because I'm not a property manager, but that is obviously rentals and tenants. And a lot of people out there, some people that I know included, are really, really struggling. And guys, if you're in that scenario, I feel for you. It is super tough out there. It is just such a big problem, which everyone's pointing the fingers at who the problem is, but it's just such a big problem. Honestly, I don't know how to fix it, but what I do know, there's simply not enough rentals available for the amount of people that need them. Supply and demand, price goes up. I'm seeing a lot of frustrated sellers out there as well because their interest rates are rising, which unfortunately is just part of being a landlord. You need to be prepared for the bad times as well as the good. But obviously that's rising. Their costs are going up as well as their own homes, and they're passing those costs on to tenants, which is understandable. But there's passing the cost on, and then there is just taking advantage of the market and putting certain tenants in scenarios where you're just leveraging the market and putting them in a bad spot and really just scraping every dollar out of that tenant that you can. And there's a lot of tenants out there that are getting bloody frustrated with the scenario, because if they don't pay it, they know you'll kick them out and you're going to get someone in within 7 days. So my advice to tenants out there is to obviously hang in there, do the best that you can, still be the best tenant that you can. But for investors is to, again, look after those tenants which looked after your property and looked after you in the downtime. Because if you jack up rents on those people now unreasonably, when the market turns, guess what they're going to do? They're going to start putting the screws to you to get the rent lower and lower and lower, which is what we saw in the down market. We saw heaps of tenants taking advantage of landlords. Now, landlords are trying to bite back. They're saying, well, I'm going to take advantage of the tenants because, hey, they screwed me over. I'm going to screw them over. And we're just in this ebb and flow of just bad business, just not looking after each other. So my advice to tenants and to landlords is just be kind to each other. Try and be more understanding of their scenario while still looking after your own, and just take the top of the market and the bottom of the market out of it, and just be reasonable as much as you can, because when the market flips, and it will eventually, hopefully they'll look after you as well as you look after them. Let's start the cycle of goodwill now, not tomorrow or next week or next year or the next decade, because it's just never going to come unless we start today. That's my suggestion. Anyway, to some numbers, because I've just been, virtue signaling at you for about 30 minutes now. But let's have a look at some numbers, because again, some of you are here for the numbers, so you know exactly what's happening in the Perth property market. So looking at sales first. This week, there was 811 properties sold. 4 weeks ago, there was 814 properties sold. So we're pretty consistent with the amount of properties that we're selling per week. So properties are churning on pretty well. The thing to look at though is the same week last year, we only had 760 property sales and almost double the stock. So we're actually turning over more properties than we were last year with almost 50% less stock than we had. So the market is super liquid at the moment and it's just turning. Looking at properties listed for sale, and this is the stat just blows my mind. In 13 or 14 years of doing this, I've seen it as high as 18,000. Depending on who you ask in our profession, Perth runs at an 11 to 13,000, 11 to 13,000 properties in the market at any one time. Not any one time, sorry. Let me rephrase that. I'm talking and doing too many things at once. My wife says I can't do more than one thing at a time. She's probably right. Perth runs in a neutral market with perhaps a 1% growth, 11 to 13,000 properties in the Perth metro area for sale at that time. In a buyer's market, we had 18,000 properties on the market because it was just too much stock and not enough buyers. Buyers had the choice and the market dropped to try and allow people to sell. We are in complete opposite at the moment. We've got right now 5,275 properties for sale in the Perth metro area. 4 weeks ago, we had 5,192. And the headlines will say, oh, there's going to be a stock increase and, properties flood the market. And it's like, no, like you had 80 something or 70 something properties come to market in the last week with still 800 turning over. In my opinion, there needs to be 6,000 properties dumped on the market overnight to throw us into the start of a neutral market. So when people say it's going to crash, it's going to fall, sorry guys, WA seems ultra insulated at the moment from what's happening in the rest of the country and the world. We just supply and demand, it's super simple. We just don't have enough houses for the amount of people that want them. Same week last year, we had 8,560 properties for sale. So we're at 5,275. So we're, 3,300-ish less than this time last year. Guys, there's just not enough property available. So if you are thinking of selling, now is the time if you can make that move. Looking at median prices, so for the median house price at the moment is $560,000, and the median unit price is $399,000. Let's just call it $400 to make life easy. The median land price is $250,000, and a button that I've never pressed before is trend. Shouldn't say that out loud, should I? That's just showing graphs. I can't show you that right now, but just know that the average purchase price is around $560,000. Now let's look at rentals. Again, a lot of you watching this right now are going to be either landlords or you're going to be tenants trying to work out what's happening with the market. So this week, there were 598 properties leased. 4 weeks ago, there was 696 properties leased. So that's less than 4 weeks ago. But same week last year, there was 647 leased. So we aren't down on the amount of properties that were leased this week. But the other stat, which is really important, that there's only 1,834 properties available to rent. 4 weeks ago, there was 2,012, and same week last year, 2,122. So you can see the consistency there. There's just less available, so less is getting rented because it's just less available. Pretty simple, but ultimately the numbers that I'm seeing there's only 1,800 properties available for rent in the whole of Perth. The average numbers I would need to look into, but I would say we're probably looking closer to 5,000 to 6,000 properties available for rent in Perth in a normal market. So again, 4,000 properties need to come on to the market overnight to see us, that tension in the rental space start to release. And as not unfortunate, but as a lot of people are upset about, we've got East Coast investors buying up properties that people try to live in. Well, we've got just as many WA investors selling up because they're sick of trying to manage a rental and they're worrying about rental freezes and all these things coming in. So we need investors to come in to give people places to live, but we also need more properties available to give people something to buy as well. So the median rent at the moment is $580 per week for a house. For a unit, it's $520 per week. Looking at that, and we look at the median house and unit price, it seems obviously that units are performing quite well when it comes to the rental return on your investment. But I'm not going to dive into investment here. There's a lot of people on YouTube at the moment which are giving great investment advice. I'm not going to do that for you. Moving on, crystal ball. Now, obviously everything I've said today, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm simply just go on the ground, real estate agent, showing you what I'm seeing to hopefully give you guys some information and tips to get some more success out there or kind of overcome those challenges that you're seeing. But with the crystal ball stuff, what's going to happen next? Really, who knows? But my theory is that when we see an interest rate drop or interest rates hold for long enough, that certainty comes back in, we could head into another super cycle and see another massive growth. And I think that's what a lot of the East Coast buyers are seeing right now. That's what they're looking at. They're not looking here and where we were. They're looking here and the driving forces which could propel us up. So East Coast, has had a lot of different things happening. Interest rates have had a much larger impact on them there than they have here in WA. So I think, again, WA, we need to be very mindful of that. Supply versus demand, as I've said, we've been insulated because we just don't have enough supply. Immigration's up, unemployment's still pretty darn good. And the sentiment, well, if you've been out there trying to buy a property at the moment and you've lined up out the front of a house, or you've been one of 10 to 20 offers on a property, which is pretty common at the moment, sentiment is strong. People need somewhere to live. They need to buy. Even if they don't want to, sometimes they still have to buy or move houses. So that market is just still moving. So guys, this has hopefully helped a lot of you. Hopefully you gained some helpful insights for you or someone that you know. Please share this with anyone that you think will get a benefit out of it. And let me know in the comments, where do you think this market is going? Do you think it's going to go up, down, sideways? There's no wrong answers. They're just opinions. Are you struggling to buy or sell or lease, or are you a landlord? We'd love to hear your experience in the comments and the challenges that you're facing. And obviously, if I can give you some answers or some tips to help alleviate that stress, I will. If I don't know, I'll research it and come back to you. If you're East Coast or overseas and you've been trying to buy in WA or invest in WA, let me know again in the comments. How are you finding the experience here? Are you finding the caliber of agents in WA equivalent to East Coast or overseas, better or worse? They say WA, wait a while. For a long time, I think we were behind the 8 ball on the property game, but with COVID, it's forced us to step up our game and evolve our craft. So hopefully the ease of transactions is good for you guys outside of the state, because usually we deal belly to belly with people. Excuse the term. Guys, but ultimately, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Please share this around. Keep it clean. Be friendly to each other. And guys, my name is Jeremy Shirazi. I'm your friend in the Perth property business. Be kind to one another and enjoy your property journey. We'll catch you soon. Peace.